All right, well, let's start. Could you please introduce yourself with your primary role in the film industry and if you have any additional roles?
So my name is Carla Gutierrez. I would identify myself as a Latina immigrant. Um, and I have been in this industry since 2004, so it's been a while. And I have been working as an editor for most of those years, and I just finished my directorial debut, which I also edited, which is Frida. So yeah, so I've been, like I've had a long career and I'm well known as an editor, and now I'm coming into the same space as a director.
So exciting. So which of your credits, whether as an editor or a director, do you feel most excited by and proud of?
Both. I mean, so with directing, it was really the story of Frida that pulled me into that role. I wasn't really thinking, it wasn't, the jam wasn't motivated by I want to direct. It was mostly motivated like I have to make this film and I think I'm the right person to do it. And I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't been made this way. So it was, there was a certain urgency, even though her story had been told many times before, but in different ways. So so yeah, so I think now that I've had the experience of both directing and editing a film, and I set up the structure of my team to be able to support that, dual role for me. I really enjoyed it, so I want to be able to continue to do that. But I don't think I can direct um, solely like I want to be very involved in the you know building the narrative as an editor, or like just really being very involved in the editing process. I think more than maybe other directors would be.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention in this book is how many directors are involved in the editing process, but use like the Coen brothers always did their own editing, but they used fake names for it.
Yeah. And there is, it's really interesting to see in the documentary landscape that the editors that decide to make that change, the directors, some of them stop editing, but they're just really, I think that the experience that we got with, with understanding what is the story or being able to write the story in the edit room, I think has provided a lot of editors with a really strong sense of storytelling, and really like control over you know, really understanding a narrative, the possibilities of a narrative in the film. So a lot of the editors that have made the jump are, incredibly strong directors. So yeah, it's it's really exciting to see that, knowledge really transfer beautifully into guiding a film from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, in the documentary world, I feel like people started doing it out of necessity, but in the fiction world, I never understood why they wouldn't credit themselves, but maybe that's just a thing that's changing slowly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, the collaborator between, I mean, I've never really have had experience editing fiction, but there is, I think, a confidence and uh, this like decisive nature that we have to have as documentary editors to like not be afraid of like trying very different things because we're writing the film in the edit. That some of the most famous fiction editors started their career in documentaries, and I think that there is something there, with their talent. It's like not being scared to really change things up and not follow a script, because we don't really have a script, so we're really following our instincts and making big picture decisions from the very beginning.
Yeah, definitely. Well, since you have so much experience in post-production, you must have favorite aspects and least favorite aspects. So the first part of the question is, what is your favorite part of post-production?
So, it's interesting. I always tell younger emerging filmmakers or emerging editors to not worry about the technical aspects of editing. That you can always pick up, and that's like very, specific craft that you can always learn. And we're continuously learning because the technical aspects of editing continue changing, right? Um, but it's really understanding what is the foundation of a story, what is you really like the theme of your film, and really making everything else just lift up that theme in a really strong way. So it's really kind of like I tell people to really concentrate on learning how to do storytelling really well, because having that, like, if I can say this, like I always love to talk about the metaphor of like pushing my chair and like being able to like have a big picture of the story, right? Because the form, the style that you choose, the approach that you choose, even the rhythm of the edit needs to lift up what you're trying to say, what is at the core of your story, and how your narrative is going to be built, right? And if that can be done, always leaning into the emotional narrative and not necessarily the informational narrative, especially for documentaries, that's really hard to learn. And very few people do it really well, and continuously do it over and over with each of their films, like either directors or editors, right? So for me, that's at the center of the process. Um, and for me, form or technique has to just kind of like follow what is the heart of the film. So learning how to tell the story that is at the heart of the film is what's really hard, and also what is the most enjoyable and the most challenging. But it's just, it's delicious, like the challenge, the mental challenge and the creative challenge of not being able to see a film be a film for a long time, and trusting the process and trusting that you're gonna get there. It is a challenge. It is really hard, but that's the yummiest of it all.
Oh my gosh, so true, so true.
I don't know if that makes sense. I mean, that's yeah.
Completely makes sense that order out of chaos and, finding that. I like how you said how the form, you don't kind of come in with this idea of what the film will be. You kind of look for the heart of it and then figure out your form of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people come in kind of stuck with the style of the film, but haven't thought about how that style connects to the theme of the film or what is the film about. For example, with Frida, you know, obviously it's about an iconic artist. It's about a figure that a lot of us know pretty well. Many of us know really well. But the theme for the film, and we talked about it from the very beginning, it was really the film ultimately is about a woman that is experiencing normal things that, a lot of women experience in our lifetime, that chooses not to contain her voice. She decisively has the courage to really express her voice freely. And sometimes that expression is problematic. Sometimes that expression is, a little fraught. But it's always very honest and it's always very open. And that, so that was the central theme of our film. And so all the decisions that we made was to kind of like to build that woman's spirit. And why did she, how did she express her, deepest feelings, and why was it important for her to look internally and share that with the world through her art, right? Because women don't do that. Women, we're always kind of, allowing society to, you know, to make our voice, smaller, quieter, but we also do that to ourselves as well. So all the styles, all the decisions on animation, the form, the way that we wanted to treat the archival, all of that had to always have that theme as at the center, and then all the little decisions that we made in terms of like how the film was going to look, how the film was going to move, how the film was going to feel, how we were going to treat the animation. all of that came back to our central idea.